Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing the second variant for paper 4 for Standard Maths, Cambridge IGCSE 0580. In this video, we'll be having a detailed paper walkthrough and see whether the paper was difficult or easy overall. I'll be sharing tips and tricks to save time. And if you're someone who wants to check out the other variants for the May June 2025 series, you can click on the playlist above. It has all of the papers. I'm constantly updating that playlist so that you have access to all of them. So without further delay, let's start with this one. It says a quadrilateral has these properties. The diagonals are the only lines of symmetry. It has rotational symmetry of order 2. Write on the mathematical name of this quadrilateral. So this quadrilateral can be a rhombus because if you notice, a rhombus has all equal sides. However, the diagonals are of different lengths. They're not the same. And opposite angles are equal to each other. So this is what a rhombus looks like. So as you can see, all the lengths are equal and the opposite angles are equal, which means the diagonals will act as your line of symmetries. And for the rotational symmetry, if you rotate it once, that's going to give us this one, and then again. So that's going to give us the same shape. So when you rotate it twice, you go back to the original shape. That means the order of rotational symmetry is 2. And the line of symmetries, as I said, are the diagonals. So the answer is rhombus. Then it says the diagram shows the net of a solid. Write on the mathematical name of the solid. So the mathematical name of the solid is going to be a triangular prism. Why is it triangular prism? Because the cross-section area is a triangle. This is your cross-section area. So since the cross-section area is a triangle, it's a triangular prism. If the cross-section area was a rectangle, it would be a rectangular prism. Then it says mass of box A is to mass of box B is 4:7. The mass of box B is 2.4 kgs more than the mass of box A. Calculate the mass of box A and the mass of box B. So mass of B is 2.4 more than the mass of A. That means when we subtract the 2, we get 2.4. Mass of B minus mass of A is 2.4. So 7/11 of x minus 4/11 of x equals to 2.4. For B, the fraction is going to be 7 out of 4 plus 7. So that's 7/11. And for A, it's 4/11. I'm using the values in the ratio. And x is your total mass. So 7x minus 4x is 3x/11. Then to find the value of x, we times 2.4 with 11 and divide the result by 3. That gives the value of 8.8 kg. So now for B, it's going to be 7/11 times 8.8, which equals 5.6 kg. And for A, it's going to be 5.6 minus 2.4, that's 3.2. So that is your answer. Then says ABCD is a trapezium, work out the area of the trapezium. For the area of the trapezium, we need the perpendicular height, which is this one. Not the slant height, perpendicular height. And then we need the parallel sides, which is these two. So area is going to be 1/2 times the perpendicular height times the sum of the parallel sides. So that's going to be 88 centimeters square. Then Scott changes $300 into pounds. The exchange rate is 1 pound equals to $1.20. Calculate the amount Scott receives. So if 1 pound equals to $1.20 and we have to change $300 into pounds, we will divide 300 by 1.20. And that's going to give us 250 pounds. Then a solid wooden cone has base radius 4 centimeters and height 12 centimeters. The density of the wood is 0.74 grams per centimeter cube. Calculate the mass of the cone. They've already given the formula. So what you need to do is first you need to find the value of the volume. Now it's a cone. So volume of cone is 1 over 3 pi r square h. R is 4, so 4 square, and height is 12. When you solve that, what you should get is 201.062 centimeter cube. We have to find the mass. So mass is going to be density multiplied by volume. So that's 0.74 grams per centimeter cube times 201.062. That is going to give us 148.79 grams. Y equals to mx plus c, rearrange the formula to make m the subject. So first you move c to the other side. So it becomes y minus c equals to mx. Then we divide both sides by m to get rid of the m with x. So it's y minus c over m equals to x. Now x is the subject of the formula. Then just calculate 2.1 square minus 1.9, divide by 0.5. So first we'll square 2.1 in the calculator. So 2.1 square is 4.41. So then you do 4.41 minus 1.9 and then divide it by 0.5. So 4.41 minus 1.9 is 2.51. 2.51 divided by 0.5 is 5.02. That is your answer. Next question says, solve the simultaneous equations. You must show all your working. For this, I'm going to use the substitution method because I can easily make y the subject in the second equation. Y would equal to 11 minus 3w. Then I'm going to substitute this in the first equation. So 2w minus 3 bracket 11 minus 3w equals to 11. As you can see, the entire equation is just in terms of w now. There is no y. Expand the bracket. Negative 33 plus 9w equals to 11. 2w plus 9w is 11w minus 33. Take the 33 to the other side. So 11 plus 33. That's 44. W equals to 44 divided by 11, and that is 4. Now y is going to be 11 minus 3 times 4, which is 11 minus 12, and that's negative 1. So when w is 4, y is negative 1. You can also use the elimination method over here. That's also fine, but pick the method that you think will save time and reduce your chances of error. Next question says, a group of 12 adults and 9 children travel on a bus. The cost of an adult ticket is $N. The cost of a child ticket is N minus $10. The total cost of the tickets is $277.50. Find the cost of one adult ticket. So if the total cost of tickets is this, 12 times 9 is the cost of adult tickets in total, plus 9 times N minus 10. This is the cost of children tickets in total. So both of them added up give us 277.50, which is the total cost of tickets. So 12n plus 9n minus 90, we expand the brackets. Then we will collect the like terms. So 12n plus 9n is 21n minus 90 equals to 277.5. Take the 90 to the other side, so it becomes 277.5 plus 90. That's going to be 367.5. N is going to be 367.5 divided by 21, which is going to give us 17.5 is the value of N. So cost of one adult ticket is going to be $17.5. Next question says, in a sale, the original price of a shirt is reduced by 15%. The sale price of the shirt is $23.63. Find the original price of the shirt. So the sale price is 23.63. That means this basically represents 85% of the original price. X being the original price. So what I will do is I'm going to multiply 23.63 by 100 and divide it by 85. Basically, I'm cross multiplying. Or you could even directly divide 23.60 by 0.85. That's also correct. So this is going to give us 27.8 as the original price. That's your answer. Then the length of a rectangle is 16 centimeters, correct to the nearest centimeter. The width of the rectangle is 14 centimeters, correct to the nearest centimeter. Calculate the lower bound of the perimeter. When you find the lower bound for perimeter, first you need to figure out the formula. Formula for perimeter is twice of the length plus twice of the width. We're adding the lengths basically and the widths. So when you're adding and you have to find the lower bound, you will add the lower bound of length to the lower bound of the width to get the lower bound of the perimeter. In addition, if you're trying to find the lower bound, you add the lower bounds. And if you're trying to find the upper bounds, you add the upper bounds. But when you're subtracting and trying to find the upper bound of something, then it's upper bound minus lower bound. And for lower bound, it's lower bound minus upper bound. If you're someone who doesn't know the upper bound and lower bound rules for addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, I'm attaching a link above. You can also go to my short section and you will find like a couple of shorts that focus on this. So coming back to this, the length of rectangle is 16 centimeters, correct to the nearest centimeter. Whatever it's nearest to, you divide that by 2. So it's correct to the nearest centimeter, which means we're going to divide 1 by 2, which is 0.5. And then what we're going to do is for the lower bound, I will subtract 0.5 from 16, which is 15.5 centimeters. Similarly, for the width, it's again correct to the nearest centimeter. So 1 divided by 2, that's going to be 0.5. We will subtract 0.5 from 14, which is 13.5. So the perimeter is going to be 2 times 15.5 plus 2 times 13.5. And that's going to give us 58 centimeters. That's your answer. Then it says triangle ABC and triangle PQ are mathematically similar. Calculate the length of PR. If they're mathematically similar, that means all of the lengths are being increased or decreased by the same scale factor. So we're trying to find the length of PR, which is this one. If you go from 9 to 6, we can easily find the scale factor by dividing 6 by 9, which is 2 over 3. So if we're trying to find PR, we would just multiply the scale factor by 12, which is AC. Why are we choosing AC? Because AC is similar to PR. Just like AB was similar to PQ. And same goes for BC, which is similar to QR. In similar shapes, your corresponding lengths are increasing or decreasing by the same scale factor depending on the size of the shapes. Over here, if you go from ABC to PQR, the size is becoming smaller. So the scale factor used over here is 2 over 3. So 2 over 3 times 12 will give us the length of PR, which is going to be 8 centimeters. So that's how you find lengths in similar shapes. Then it says triangle ABC and triangle PQR are the cross sections of two prisms. The prisms are mathematically similar. The volume of the smaller prism is 1120 centimeter cube. Calculate the volume of the larger prism. So if two shapes are similar and we're talking about volumes, then length of shape 1 divided by length of shape 2 whole cube is volume of shape 1 divided by volume of shape 2. This is the formula we use when you talk about volumes in similar shapes. So we can pick two corresponding lengths, these two. So if we say 9 over 6 whole cube equals to volume of the smaller prism is 1120 and we have to find the volume of the larger prism. So that's 3 over 2 whole cube equals to V1 over 1120. So that's 27 over 8 cross multiply 1120 to isolate V1 on one side. And let's see what we get for that. That gives us 3780 centimeter cube for the volume of the larger prism. This is the main thing you need to remember over here, that the ratio of corresponding lengths being cubed equals to the ratio of the corresponding volumes. If they're talking about the area or surface area of similar shapes, then you would square the ratio of the lengths instead of cubing it. That's the only difference. Then it says factorize 5x minus 10 minus ax plus 2a. So in this, we will use factor by grouping. The first two terms make one group and the last two terms make another group. In the first two terms, we have 5 common. So x minus 2 comes in the bracket. In the last two terms, we have negative a common. So again, x minus 2 comes in the bracket. Now between 5 and negative a, we have x minus 2 common. So when we take that common outside, we're left with 5 minus a inside the bracket. So that is your factorization. Then says the interior angle of a regular polygon is 172 degrees. Find the number of sides of this polygon. So for this, you need to know the interior angle formula for a regular polygon, which is n minus 2 times 180 over n. We have the interior angle, which is 172. We have to find the value of n, which is the number of sides. Cross multiply. So we have 172n equals to, expand the bracket, 180n minus 360. Collect the like terms on each side. So 360 equals to 180n minus 172n. 360 equals to 8n. 360 divided by 8 equals to n, which is going to give us 45 as the number of sides. That is your answer. Then on any day, the probability that the weather will be sunny is 0.7. Find the probability that on any day the weather will not be sunny. So I don't know if you've looked at like the first variant for paper 1. It was very similar to this one. Like I think even the questions are pretty much the same. They're not changing a lot. So far what I've realized is that the May June 2025 papers have been very easy compared to the past ones. In the past one, they would still challenge like the students a little bit, but like in this one, it has been pretty straightforward, like no complicated questions so far. So for the weather not being sunny, we just subtract the probability of the weather being sunny from 1, and that gives us 0.3 as the answer. Then when the weather is sunny, the probability that Rohit goes for a walk is 0.9. When the weather is not sunny, the probability that Rohit goes for a walk is 0.2. Find the probability that on any day, Rohit goes for a walk. So we have to find the probability that on any day, Rohit goes for a walk. So if it's sunny and he goes for a walk, that's 0.7 times 0.9, because the probability for the weather being sunny is 0.7. Or if it's not sunny, which is 0.3, and he still goes for a walk, so times 0.2. So that's going to give us 0.63 plus 0.06, which is 0.69. That is the probability that on any day he will go for a walk. Alex invests $400 at a rate of 2.3% per year simple interest. Find the total amount Alex has at the end of 5 years. So for the simple interest, the formula is principal amount times rate of interest over 100 multiplied by time. Principal amount is 400, rate is 2.3 over 100, and time period is 5. So when we plug this in the calculator, what we get is 46. So $46 is the interest that he has earned in 5 years. To find the total amount, we will add this to the amount that he invested. So 400 plus the interest that he's earned. So that's going to give us $446. That is the total amount he receives after 5 years. Then it says Virat has $100 to spend. In February, he spends X dollars. In March, he spends 10% more than he spends in Feb. In April, he spends 10% more than he spends in March. At the end of April, Virat has 33.80 remaining. Find the value of X. So in Feb, he's spending X dollars. In March, he's spending 10% more. So that means it's 110 over 100 of X. Then in April is again 10% more of what he spent in March. So that's 110 over 100x plus 10% of this. That's going to be 110 over 100x, 11x over 10. Plus 11x over 100, which is 121x over 100. So now x plus 110 over 100x plus 121 over 100x equals to 100 minus 33.8. 100 is the amount that he had. 33.8 is the amount left after he spent all of this. So that's 100x plus 110x plus 121x divided by 100 equals to 66.2. Cross multiply and then combine the like terms over here. So when you combine the like terms on this side, that gives us 331x, and over here we have 66.2 times 100, which is 6,620. So divide the two, and x equals 20. So that is your answer. If you're comfortable with writing these as decimals, you can also write that as decimal. 110 over 100 would be 1.1, and then 121 over 100 would be 1.21. So you can write them as decimals and then solve that. Either will get the same answer. Then it says Bobby invests $500 in an account that pays compound interest each year. At the end of 17 years, the value of Bobby's investment is $700.13. Find the value of Bobby's investment at the end of 20 years. So now we're talking about compound interest. So our compound interest, its principal amount times 1 plus r over 100 to the power of t. He invested $500 in an account that pays compound interest each year. At the end of 17 years, his investment is 700.13. We have to find his investment at the end of 20 years. So using this, first to figure out the rate of interest, and then we will use that to find the value of investment after 20 years. So 700.13, the compound interest formula basically gives us the total amount at the end once we've added the interest, which is 700.13 over here, equals to 500, which is what he invested, times 1 plus r over 100 to the power of 17, because you talk about 17 years first. So 700.13 gets divided by 500 equals to 1 plus r over 100 to the power of 17. That is 1.40026. Next, what we will do is we will take the 17th root on both sides to get rid of the power of 17. So 17th root of 1.40026 is going to be 1.0200. We have 1 plus r over 100 over here. Then 1.0200 minus 1 equals to r over 100, which is 0.0200. Then we times that by 100. That gives us 2.0% as r. So now that we have the rate of interest, we can find the value of the investment at the end of 20 years. That's going to be 500 times 1 plus 2 over 100 to the power of 20, which is going to give us $742.97. That is the value of Bobby's investment at the end of 20 years. So it says A, B, C, D, and E lie on a circle. Find the values of X, Y, and Z. So for this, you need to know your circle theorems. So for circle theorems, we know that Y would be 52. Why? Because both angles are coming out of the same segment. The segment being AB. So over here, if we highlight that, these two are same angles. So angles in the same segment are equal. Okay, then for X, we can see that we have a triangle over here and we have two angles of that triangle. So we can easily find the third one, which is X. So X is going to be 180 minus 125 minus 26. Since the sum of angles of a triangle is 180, so we subtract the remaining angles from that to find the third angle. That is 29 degrees. Reason being sum of angles in a triangle equal to 180. I know the question doesn't require us to write the reasons in this one, but I'm writing the reasons for your understanding so that you know why each step was done. Then for angle Z, we can say that we can find this angle over here first, which would be 180 minus 125, which equals to 55. So this is 55. So once again, we have a triangle and we can find the third angle. So CBE would be 180 minus 55 minus 52, which equals 73 degrees. Now, if I highlight this quadrilateral over here, we can see that it's a cyclic quadrilateral. A cyclic quadrilateral is that quadrilateral whose all four vertices are touching the circumference of the circle. So all four vertices of this quadrilateral are touching the circumference. So that means this angle and this angle will add up to 180. In a cyclic quadrilateral, opposite angles always add up to 180. So Z can be 180 minus 73, which is equal to 107 degrees. So cyclic quadrilateral is the reason for this. So that's how you find your values of X, Y, and Z. If you're someone who doesn't know the circle theorems, I'm going to attach a link above which shows all the circle theorems in the short. And if you still have any confusions or questions about this, please leave a comment below and I'll help you out again. Then question 19 says, we have three functions f, g, and h. Find f of negative 3. So for f of negative 3, we just substitute negative 3 in the function instead of x, and we get a value of negative 2. Then the domain of g of x is negative 3, 0, and 2. Find the range of gx. So for the range of gx, we will substitute all of these x values in the function and find the corresponding range values. So g of negative 3 is going to be 5 minus 2 times negative 3, which is 11. G of 0 is going to be 5 minus 2 times 0, that's 5. and g of 2 is going to be 5 minus 2 times 2, which is 1. So 11, 5, and 1. These are your corresponding range values. Then it says find x when h of x is equal to 1 over 32. So 1 over 32 equals to 2 to the power of x. 32 can be rewritten as 1 over 2 to the power of 5. So now we bring 2 to the power of 5 in the numerator. So that changes the power to negative 5. Now if you compare, both the bases are same. So that means the powers are also going to be equal. So x is negative 5. For this one, you need to know about your rules of indices, how we can change the power, how we can make it positive or negative, how we can bring the base in the numerator. And when both sides of the equal to sign have the same base, we can put the powers equal to each other. Then find x when h inverse x equals to 3. Originally, h of x is 2 to the power of x. If h inverse x equals to 3, we need to find the value of x for this. So for this, you need to know that when you have an original function and an inverse, whatever is the domain and range for the original function, for the domain and range of the inverse, the domain of the original function becomes the range of the inverse, and range of the original function becomes the domain of the inverse. We swap them. So if this is 3, like if the range for the inverse is 3, that's the domain for your original. So we can put that into the original function, and that gives us 8. So that means range over here would be 8 if the domain is 3. So over here, your x would be 8 because the range of the original becomes the domain of the inverse. You need to know about this rule very well because you don't need to do any complex calculation for this. You just need to identify the domain and range of the original, and through that, you can identify the domain and range of the inverse as well. Then it says the diagram shows a quadrilateral ABCD. CD is 10 meters and DB is 12 meters. Angle DB is 90 degrees. Angle CDB is 56 degrees. And angle ADB is 34 degrees. Calculate the length of AB. So for the length of AB, we have this right angle triangle, triangle ABD. We have the angle, we have the adjacent, we have to find the opposite. We'll use tangent. Tan of 34 equals to AB over 12. So 12 times tan 34, and that is going to give us 8.09 meters as the length of AB. Then says calculate the area of the quadrilateral ABCD. So for the area, this was 8.09 meters. We can easily find the area of triangle ABD because we have the height and the base. And we can also easily find the area of the triangle CDB because we have two lengths and the angle between them. So if we use the formulas for ABD, that's 1 over 2 times 12 times 8.09. You find the area of the triangle separately and then add them up. So that gives us 48.54 for this triangle. And then for triangle CBD, that's 1 over 2 times 10 times 12 times sine of 56. This formula is always used when you have a non-right angle triangle. And in that non-right angle triangle, you have two lengths and the angle between them. So that gives us 49.74 meters square. So total area of the quadrilateral is going to be the sum of 58.54 and 49.74. That gives us 98.28 meters square. That's the area of the quadrilateral. Then it says calculate the perimeter of the quadrilateral ABCD. So for the perimeter, we need all of the lengths. We have this one, we don't have this, and we don't have this. So for the right angle triangle, we can use SOHCAHTOA or Pythagoras to figure out the third length. I'm going to use SOHCAHTOA. We have the adjacent. I need to find the hypotenuse. So I can easily use cosine. Cos of 34 equals to adjacent, which is 12 over AD. So AD would be 12 divided by cos of 34, which gives us 14.47 meters. Now for the length of CB, whenever you have a non-right angle triangle and you have two lengths and the angle between them, we can easily use the cosine rule to find the third length. So cosine rule in this case would be CB squared equals to 10 square plus 12 square minus 2 times 10 times 12 times cos of 56. So that's going to give us 244 plus, when you're multiplying 2 times 10 times 12 times cos 56, multiply it in one go. Don't first multiply 2, 10, and 12 and then subtract it from the sum of 10 square and 12 square. That's going to give an incorrect answer. Multiply this entire thing in one go and then subtract the result. So 2 times 10 times 12 times cos of 56. That's 134.206. So the difference of the two is going to give us 109.794, square root both sides, and CB is going to be 10.478. So now the perimeter is going to be 10 plus 14.47 plus 8.09 plus 10.48, which sums up to 43.04 meters. That's the perimeter of the quadrilateral. Then calculate the shortest distance from B to the line AD. That's basically this one. And remember, the shortest distance is always the perpendicular distance. So we can see that we have this right angle triangle over here. Let me draw it separately. D, B, 12, 34, and this. We have to find this, the shortest distance. We have the hypotenuse, we have the angle, we have to find the opposite. So we'll use sine 34 equals to x over 12. Multiply 12 with sine 34, and that gives us the value of x as 6.71 meters. That's the value of x. Then it says simplify 3t to the power of 5 times 5t to the power of 3. So 3 gets multiplied with 5. And for the variables, when we're multiplying similar bases, we will add the powers. So the base remains the same. What changes is the power. So it becomes 15 times t to the power of 8. Then whenever there's a power outside the bracket and inside the bracket, you distribute the power inside the bracket and the powers get multiplied. So the power of 5 over 6 will be distributed on 64 along with u to the power of 36. Now 64 can be rewritten as 2 to the power of 6. And over here we can multiply the powers. Once again, whenever there's a power outside the bracket, inside the bracket, the powers get multiplied. So this would be 6 times 5 over 6. So that's 6 times 5. That's 2 to the power of 5 times u to the power of 30, which is 32u to the power of 30. That is your final answer. Then the next question says, the Venn diagram shows information about the 33 students in a class. G represents the number of students who study geography and H represents the number of students and H represents the number of students who study history. One of the students in the class is picked at random. Find the probability that this student does not study geography and does not study history. So if he doesn't study geography or history, that means he's going to be outside. So that's 5 over 33 because there are 33 students in total. And out of those 33, 5 don't study either of the subjects. Then the probability that this student studies geography and studies history. So if he's studying geography and history, that's going to be this. So 13 out of 33. The middle section is always the common section. So these 13 students study both the subjects. That's why the Venn diagram is intersecting over there. It's overlapping. Then 2 of the students who study history are picked at random. Find the probability that one student also studies geography and one student does not study geography. So if one student studies geography and history, he's going to be out of this 30. And the other student studies history but not geography, then he is going to be out of this 7. So in total, since we're picking the students out of the history circle, total students who study history is 20. So for the first case, the student who studies geography and history, that's going to be 13 out of 20. And then the student studies history but not geography. So that was 7. So that's going to be 7 out of 19 now. The reason why it's 7 out of 19 is because we already picked one student out of the history circle that studies history and geography. So now there's one less student in the circle. So the probability of getting a student who studies history but not geography is going to be 7 out of 19 now. Now to make this happen, they didn't say that there's a fixed order. They didn't say that he has to pick the one who studies history and geography first and then the other who studies history but not geography. They can be both ways. He can pick the history student first who doesn't study geography and then the student studies both history and geography, which means there are 2 ways to solve this. There are 2 possibilities. So we do 13 times 7 times 2, which is equal to 182. And then we do 20 times 19, which is 380. Both are even numbers, so we can simplify them. And that's going to give us 91 divided by 190. That is the probability. So remember, there are 2 ways of picking the students. He can pick the student who studies history and not geography first, and then he can pick the student who studies history and geography. So that's why we have to multiply it by 2. If we don't do that, you will not get full marks for this. Then it says simplify h square plus 4h over h square minus 16. So we can see that in the numerator we have h common. So h bracket h plus 4. In the denominator we have difference of perfect squares. When 2 square numbers are being subtracted, that's similar to a square minus b square, which is the same as a minus b times a plus b. So over here, a is h and b is 4. So we can rewrite this as h minus 4 times h plus 4. We have an h plus 4 in the numerator and denominator. We can cancel those out. And that leaves us with h over h minus 4 as the fully simplified answer. Then it says Ahmed walks 2 kilometers at a speed of x kilometers per hour. He then walks a further 3 kilometers at a speed of x plus 1 kilometers per hour. The total time he takes to walk the 5 kilometer is 1 over 4 hours. Show that 5x squared minus 15x minus 8 equals to 0. So let's create the equations first. So he's walking for 2 kilometers at a speed of x kilometers. So time for Ahmed first is going to be 2 over x. Then he walks a further 3 kilometers at a speed of x plus 1. So both of this added together gives us the time of one whole number 1 over 4. This is what we begin with. So we can rewrite the mixed number as an improper fraction. That's going to be 5 over 4. Combine the denominators over here, so x times x plus 1. 2 gets multiplied with x plus 1 and 3 gets multiplied with x. Expand the bracket, 2x plus 2 plus 3x over x times x plus 1 equals to 5 over 4. Cross multiply, 4 times 5x plus 2. I collected the like terms. 5x times x plus 1. 20x plus 8 equals to 5x squared plus 5x. Bring all of the terms on one side. 5x squared minus 20x plus 5x minus 8, which is 5x squared minus 15x minus 8. That is the equation as shown in the question. Then it says find the value of x, show all your working, giving answer correct to 2 decimal places. So the equation was 5x squared minus 15x minus 8. So we need to factorize this. It clearly says give your answer correct to 2 decimal places, which means we will be using the quadratic formula. So x equals to negative 15 plus minus root of negative 15 squared minus 4 times 5 times negative 8 divided by 2 times 5. If you're someone who doesn't know what a, b, and c are, a is the coefficient of x squared, b is the coefficient of x, and c is the constant. You always write your signs with the numbers. If it's negative, you write the negative sign. You don't leave it out. That's why 15 was negative 15, not just 15. So 15 plus minus root of 15 squared is going to be 225 plus 4 times 5 times 8, that's 160 divided by 10. So 225 plus 160, 385, square root of 385, that's 19.62. So one value of x is going to be 15 plus 19.62 over 10, which gives us 3.46. And the other value is going to be 15 minus 19.62 over 10, negative 0.46. That's your answer correct to 2 decimal places. Since x represents distance and distance cannot be negative, so our final answer will be 3.4x. We don't use negative 0.46 because the distance cannot be a negative value. Then it says P is the point 80 and Q is the point 26. Find the equation of the perpendicular bisector of PQ. So we have PQ. When we talk about the perpendicular bisector, yes, the line is perpendicular to the given line PQ, but since it's bisecting, that means it's passing through the midpoint. So for the equation of this line, we need the midpoint of PQ and we need the gradient of PQ as well. So first, let's start with finding the midpoint of PQ. So we add the x values of P and Q and divide the result by 2. And then we add the y values of P and Q, divide the result by 2. So that's going to be 14 and 3 over here. Then you find the gradient of PQ. Gradient of PQ is going to be 6 minus 0 over 20 minus 8. So that gives us 6 over 12, which becomes 1 over 2. Now, whenever two lines are perpendicular, the product of their gradients always equals to negative 1. That is the condition that we always use in perpendicular lines, which means the gradient of the perpendicular bisector will be m2. So 1 over 2, which is m1, times m2 equals to negative 1. m2 is going to be negative 1 times 2, and that gives us negative 2. So gradient of the perpendicular bisector is negative 2. So y minus 3 equals to negative 2 times x minus 14. I'm using point slope form, which is y minus y1 equals to m times x minus x1. You have a point, you have a slope, so we can use this to find the equation of the line in y equals to mx plus c. So y minus 3 equals to negative 2x plus 28. Y equals to negative 2x plus 28 plus 3. So that gives us y equals to negative 2x plus 31. That is the equation of the perpendicular bisector of PQ in slope-intercept form. Then we have an equation y equals to ax to the power of 11 plus 3x to the power of b. dy by dx has given us 44x to the power of 10 plus 18x to the power of c. Find the values of a, b, and c. So let's differentiate the given equation. The power comes down, gets multiplied with the terms, and then we subtract 1 from the power. Again, the power comes down, and then we subtract 1 from the power. So that's 11a x to the power of 10 plus 3b times x to the power of b minus 1. So they've given us dy by dx as 44x to the power of 10 plus 18x to the power of c. So if we put both sides equal to each other and compare the similar terms, we can easily figure out what a, b, and c are. 44 equals to 11a because the powers are same over here. So a is 4. Then 18x to the power of c equals to 3b x to the power of b minus 1. 18 equals to 3b. So which means 6 is b. If 6 is b, that means c equals to b minus 1 and 6 minus 1, so c is 5. That's the value of a, b, and c. Remember, after finding the derivative, you put the two equations equal to each other and compare the similar terms. 44 is the same as 11a, so when you put them equal to each other, we find the value of a. 3b is the same as 18, so that helps us in finding the value of b, and c equals to b minus 1, which helps us in finding the value of c. Then it says the diagram shows a cube. Calculate the angle between the diagonal AP and the base ABCD. Okay, so we have to basically find this angle. If it's a cube, that means all lengths are same. I'm going to assume that this is 2x, this is 2x, and this is 2x. All of them are 2x, basically the length, width, and height. So if AB and BC are 2x and they're all at right angles, let's find AC first, which can help us in finding the angle. So we'll use Pythagoras, AC, which is the hypotenuse over here. So AC square equals to 2x whole square plus 2x whole square. That's 4x square plus 4x squared, which is 8x squared. So AC is going to be square root of 8x squared, which is x root 8. Now we have to find this angle. So if we have this length, which is x root 8, we can use tangent because we have the opposite and adjacent. So tan theta equals to 2x over x root 8. The x get cancelled out, so you don't need to be worried that, how will we use x as the measurement when trying to find the angle. X does get cancelled out eventually. So theta would be tan inverse of 2 over root 8. And that's going to give us an answer of 35.26 degrees. That's your angle that the diagonal AB makes with the base. So if they haven't given you any measurements and if it's a cube, you can easily assume measurements like I did. Just assume x, or even you could have even assumed x instead of 2x. That would also be fine. Put them in the formula for Pythagoras, find the hypotenuse, which becomes the adjacent of the triangle ABC. Then use that along with the length to find the angle, which we did using tan. And as you can see, x gets cancelled out, so you don't need to be worried about the variable. So with that, we're done with the questions for the second variant of paper 4. If you have any questions or confusions, please leave a comment below and I'll help you out. And if you understood everything, please like and subscribe and share this video with your friends.